WordPress Accessibility Day 2024. Is your page builder actually accessible? With speaker Scarlet Isbell, web developer at Orbit Media Studios. This presentation was recorded October 2024.
Welcome to WordPress Accessibility Day 2024. My name is Simon Miner, and I'm the founder and CEO of Pedal Point Solutions. If I'm looking away from you right now, it's not that I'm being rude. I just have a low vision and a big monitor with large text in front of me. It's my pleasure to welcome you here, and thank you for joining us for this session entitled, Is Your Page Builder Actually Accessible? With Scarlet Isbell. A little bit about Scarlet. Scarlet has been developing WordPress sites for over a decade now, spending most of that time working on page builders and finding their strengths and weaknesses. She is currently a web developer for Orbit Media, where she is an accessibility advocate and the resident Elementor aficionado. Every day, she collaborates with others to learn, improve, and explore new ways to make the web and the whole world, in fact, a more inclusive space. From being the lead organizer of WordCamp Fayetteville to hosting WordPress meetups for the Springfield, Missouri community, Scarlett believes that everybody should feel supported and encouraged on their journey to make the web better and more accessible to everyone. Just a note, please feel free to add your questions in the Zoom Q&A section, and we'll answer them at the end of the presentation, and use the chat feature to connect with other attendees. And with that, I want to turn it over to Scarlett. So please take it away.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Simon, for that glowing introduction here. This is actually my first time presenting at a conference, and what a better way to kick it off than WordPress Accessibility Day. So I am so excited to be here. Thank you for everyone who is attending. Today, I am going to take you on the guided tour through Page Builder Accessibility. Um, I will be your tour guide for today. With Simon's introduction, I don't really need to tell you much more. I have added the link to my LinkedIn. Look me up, connect with me. Along our guide today, please keep your arms, legs, hands, and personal belongings within the Zoom call at all times. And let's get rolling. So first off, we're going to start with why use a page builder. So page builders are really geared towards beginners, and they're really easy to use and easy way to add functionality to your website without requiring a lot of custom coding. However, this also comes with drawbacks because a lot of them, in fact, spoiler alert, I haven't found a page builder that is fully accessible. I don't believe that there is one out there. I think it comes with the nature of the beast that we're going to learn to wrangle today. But knowing those tools, they can be helpful, and we can choose what choices to make. That takes us into the next thing we need to cover, which is user responsibility. So, choosing to use a page builder comes with a lot of responsibility on us, the user, the people building these sites, to choose the best widgets, the best modules, the best things to make our site the most inclusive they can be. Page builders include a lot of features and things that might look fun, but there's an underlying surface there that's just not accessible or easy to use. And remember that just because a feature is popular within a page builder, or all page builders for that matter, doesn't mean that it's inclusive. Part of the user responsibility is also ensuring that we are doing our proper testing. So, testing on screen readers, assistive technology devices, keyboards, doing manual testing. I love tools such as Wave and Site Improve to help get an overall view of how our website accessibility is doing. But ensuring that we're doing our manual testing just can't be beat because we're users. We're not computers in this space. So, the first section along our journey today is going to be our page builder success checklist. So, whether you have a page builder that you've been using for a while or you're looking to just get started with one, these are the features to keep an eye on that can give a good indication of whether your page builder is even considering accessibility in the way that they build things. And some do this a little bit better than others. There will be 4 items in our checklist to get started, and let's get going. Our first one is a skip to content link. While this is a simple feature, it is often overlooked by page builders when it would be easy to add it in or at least add a toggle to where you can turn it on or off. Please leave the toggle on. It is unfortunately forgotten. A skip to content link allows a user to be able to skip over your navigation once they tab into the body of the site, and then that way they can get to the main content. As you can imagine, if you had a big old navigation that a user is trying to navigate through your site on a keyboard or assistive technology, they might get frustrated and even leave and not want to deal with it if they can't get to the reason why they're there. If this is something that your page builder is missing, it can be easily added using some custom code. I've found that a quick Google search will give a good amount of resources for your specific page builder. And here's an example of what a skip to content link would look like. A shout out to the website for our event today. It may look familiar. So again, whenever a user tabs into the body of your site, this is what they will see. And along with that, just ensuring that this skip to content link has a good target size on it, so it's big enough to click, and it has a good contrast ratio so the user can easily tell what it says. And moving on into our next checklist items is our focus outlines. Ensuring that items on our site have proper outlines is very important for letting users that may be on keyboards or assistive technologies know where they're at on the site. It's again another simple feature that for some reason page builders don't bake in. It is an easy enough one to add using CSS. Let's take a look at a better example of what a good focus outline might look like. So I have 2 images on the screen here. On the top one, we have 3 items within a navigation, and the second item is highlighted using a focus outline. So the user can easily tell that that's where they are on the site. They can easily see it. And then the bottom one, if a user was navigating via keyboard or assistive technology, they wouldn't be able to tell that they were on the sponsors link or maybe anywhere on the page. They would be completely lost, and this is not great. Along with that, ensuring that your focus outlines are also of a good contrast. I know a lot of websites, they have light and dark sections. So ensuring that your focus outline is always a high contrast color is always the way to go. I love a good dual color approach, so ensuring a outline that has maybe both dark and light colors so that way regardless of the background it's always visible, and then also making sure that it's a good thickness. I believe that 2 pixels is the recommended thickness for a focus outline. And as we move along our journey here, we move into a biggie, the proper landmark usage. So, ensuring that different landmarks are being properly identified upon our site. So, s- for example, excuse my rough Photoshop skills here. It's tougher to find an illustration of this than you would believe. But here is the general, very simplified version of the way the site landmark might look. Of you have your header landmark, and nested inside that you have a nav landmark, and then below that we have our main, our footer, and another nav element nested within our footer. So your page builder should allow you to easily specify these things if they don't already have them specified. Otherwise, this can be done using custom code, but it definitely makes it a little bit tougher. These landmarks ensure that a user can tell where they are at on a site. So if you wouldn't be able to see the site, you're navigating via assistive technology, a screen reader, it will read these elements aloud, and they can even jump to the elements that they would like to know more about. So, for example, I've taken a screenshot from Elementor, and what we're seeing here is Elementor's allowing us to adjust the HTML tag to indicate what landmark we would like this to be. So, in this example, we have selected header, but it gives you the flexibility to select whatever landmark is best for where you need it to be, and ensuring that those are being used accurately. Another thing that's essential is to ensure that these are used consistently across your site. And if you are building websites for a client or somebody else to use, that they are educated on how to also use landmarks properly, or ensure that the website's set up in such a way that they don't really have to worry about it too much. Another thing that's important about these is ensuring that everything is properly labeled. So, going back to our example here of the setup, is within the header, we see we have one nav element. But let's say we had a nav element for the primary navigation, but within the header, we also had a second one for a secondary navigation. Without it being properly labeled with an ARIA label, that could get confusing for a user. And that brings us into our last and final checklist item, which is a custom attribute support. So, custom attributes within page builders and in general allow you to be able to add those different ARIA labels to these sections of your website. So, whenever a user's going through, it will read out that it's a primary navigation versus a secondary navigation, or it can help clarify phone numbers that might get jumbled on screen readers. Anything to make it clearer and help reduce frustration for a user, just make it an easier world to navigate the web in. These attributes can also be added using code, JavaScript and stuff like that if the page builder doesn't make it easy for you. I know that there's a few out there that are supporting custom attribute support. I believe Elementor, Divi, and maybe Visual Composer. I don't know. That's not a complete list. Don't hold me to it, but it kind of gives you a general guide. A few Here's a few ARIA attribute examples. Like I said, a few. There's many more, but these are more of the common ones of the ARIA label, ARIA role, ARIA live, and ARIA hidden. One thing to watch out for on page builders is I've found that a lot do love that ARIA hidden for some reason. And that means that if ARIA hidden is added to an element, a user will not be able to read that item with their assistive technology, therefore not even knowing that it's there. While this item is good in strategic places, I've found it on things in page builders such as social icons that seem, pretty essential. Um, and for some reason, page builders just love those items. Here's an example within the Elementor editor. So we have a screenshot here within the custom attributes section. And here I've written out the ARIA label, and then it has a pipe where we add the primary nav label to it. And then it will add that ARIA label to that item to make it a little bit easier for you without custom coding. I'm sure that the format of this looks different across all page builders. So read the documentation for your page builder and find out what is right for you. All right, we're on to the next section in our tour today, and it's a big one. It's our red flag list. First, I'm going to take a hydration break real quick. All right, our red flag list are items to keep in mind. These are accessibility pitfalls. Usually these items within page builders are not accessible, so we need to keep a very close eye on them, and in some cases, we'll avoid them completely. Don't worry though, I'll offer some good, more accessible alternatives to those items as well. So bringing us in strong, waving us in with that red flag, are interactive elements. These are items such as flip boxes, interactive circles, flip carousels. I mean, honestly, anything that says flip or interactive within a page builder, I just say I usually nope out of. And these kind of items like to take valuable content and hide them from the user or force them to interact with it in order to be able to see it. So this could be in the form of a hover or a focus that the user has to perform in order to see this content because it's hidden behind a box or an element. These are definitely an avoid completely in my list. You're excluding users and they're just plain bad. Here I have a screenshot here kind of demonstrating some examples. I wasn't gonna subject you to all that motion and craziness today. So screenshots it is. So I've gotten this screenshot from the Elementor website, and we see 3 cards. The first one we can see is flipping over from side to side. And then the second one is currently being hovered, where we can see that some of the content is being pushed up and new content is being displayed. And then the second one, we just see that it has an icon with a title. Where to begin on these? So for one, we have problematic animations that whenever the user interacts with it, they get bombarded with an experience that they likely didn't sign up for. And then we're also hiding a valuable content underneath this. So when a user is scanning through the site, these cards aren't clearly clickable. There's no indicator that the user needs to take an action. So this content is being hidden from so many users that they're not going to be able to see or get to know what you're trying to promote for them, and it's frustrating. Not to mention users with motion sensitivity and different things like that. My recommendation for items like this is to just go with a static card. Like, it is fine to put it all out on the table and show your users all of the content. So having that icon at the top, the title, and then let's put just the content underneath it so that way the user can see it. And if that card is meant to be clickable, please add an indicator. And we just keep on waving with the animated items. And this one has to be one of my least favorites on my on my red flag list, is the animated titles. For some reason, page builders love these, and I will never figure out the reason why. But these animated titles are problematic because they're always changing text. There's a constant animation. They don't allow the user to pause or play the animations. It's just like if you need a title or a headline, please just use a properly a properly marked up headline. That is perfectly okay. Um, Here's an example. Again, wasn't going to subject you guys to all that movement and everything going on, but here's a screenshot of an animated title. So on the screen, we see there's just some filler content that's flowing off of the page. And as I was sitting on the page, a new word popped in, and then it went out again, and then another word kept popped in. Confusing. You don't know what message they're trying to get across to you because the content is always changing. It's bad for users with motion sensitivity. It's tough for anyone to really keep up with. Let's avoid these. Let's put these on the page builder no list if we could. And the animations just keep on going with these red flags. So another popular thing that we see on page builders a lot is that they'll give you the option for extra effects and animations, such as entrance animations and scrolling animations and different things like that. While these aren't always the worst. They're not the best either. They can be used within a certain realm. But one thing to note that I've recently found out was that a lot of page builders, there's a setting within users' browsers that they can reduce motion, and it's supposed to turn off the entrance animations and different things. And there's page builders out there that are ignoring this, which, I mean, can we say problematic? There is some custom code that you might be able to add in there to ensure that your page builder is listening to your users. Just ensure you're doing your testing and everything is looking good. This is one of those proceed with great caution and ensure that everything works properly. Here's an example that I found on the Elementor website. I guess a big call out here, don't come for me, but they're using a scrolling effect to have, and they have all these little cards on top of this headline. And then as you scroll, the cards dissipate and you can then read the headline. So one, why are we covering up the headline in the first place? Like, we're making this a little too difficult for users to read and interact with. There's all these cards. Are they clickable? Am I supposed to do something with it? I don't know. Like, there's too much. So it's items like these that we just need to, let's toss those out of our options. And then we're moving in, waving in with our sliders and our carousels. Again, we're forcing user interaction to be able to view our content, and sliders, unless they're marked up properly, don't always work with assistive technology, and usually within a page builder might be a shocker, but they're not always marked up properly. These are one of the things that I do recommend avoiding where you can, where it is possible. But the W3C does give us an example of what a properly marked up slider does look like. So you at least have that to go on should you have any questions or should you really want a slider for your website. There are ways to make it accessible, but I'm never a fan for hiding content from users. And here's an example of a slider that I saw on the Beaver Builder website. We see we see a screenshot of a slider that has a kitty and a dog playing with an overlay in the center that has some text and a button. And would you believe me if I said that there's also navigation arrows on this slider? No, really, there are. I just put circles around them on the screen. This is also why if you're gonna use a slider, ensuring proper contrast is essential for users. Most users would just come here, see this, and just assume that it's an image and go on with their way. If this is really important content, let's put it front and center for users to find. Another thing is ensuring that your target size is good. So a lot of sliders love those little dotted navigations, and usually those dots are really tiny. So let's like enlarge those and make sure that they're big enough, as well as ensuring that sliders have proper ARIA attributes, so that way users on assistive technologies know what's going on and how to get to the content that you're trying to show them. All right, we are a little bit out of the animation realm. Take a breath. And we are moving more into content-based items. Another hydration break here. All right. And first up is accordions and toggles. These items are great for being able to display a lot of content in a small area, but they can really be problematic for keyboard users and users of assistive technologies. A lot of times I've entered an accordion or toggle on a site built with a page builder, and it just doesn't work with a keyboard. Um, you should be able to, so here on the screen, I have a screenshot of an accordion. This one was actually taken from Oxygen Extra's site. And one of the things that they toed on there is accessible markup, which from what I saw, it was accessible. They had all the ARIA. You should be able to tab on your computer to the different titles within this accordion and then hit enter, and then you can that will pop open and you can read the content on several page builders out there. Unfortunately, whenever you tab to it and you hit enter, it does nothing. And this is why proper markup is so important. Whenever we can mark it up properly to work, why would we do it any other way? I I really don't know. And under a similar nature, waving us in here is tabs. In the same way, tabs are also great for organizing large amounts of content while keeping it compact and easy to understand. But these can be problematic for mobile users, keyboard users, and users of assistive technology. Again, this is a proceed with caution, ensuring proper markup. The W3C does also have an example of this, of what proper markup looks like. So if you're curious and would like a tab on your website, that's a great resource to go to. I have a couple screenshots here. I have one screenshot on this slide of a tab on desktop. So if you are a user navigating via a keyboard, you should be able to hit the tab key and land on the first tab. There's 3 tabs in the screenshot, and then we see a simple content underneath there, and you would be able to navigate to the other tabs via your arrow keys, and then you can also hit tab should there be any linked linked content within the tabs themselves. Some of these tab modules, widgets are marked up better on some page builders than they are on others. I've taken this screenshot and the following from a site that was built on Elementor. And then the one thing to also watch out for is tabs on mobile. Whenever you get to a smaller screen, they have the tendency just to want to squish together, making all that text very difficult to read. And that's why I really like Elementor's approach. So on this slide, I'm showing an example of what the tabs look like on mobile, and they shrink down to an accordion-like view, giving the user a more open layout, a larger target size, and ensuring that none of those elements end up overlapping, just making it a little bit easier to use. All right, and we're coming into our video section. So page builders love giving their users different video options, and one of the biggies is overlay images. So these are images that you can put on top of your video to fancy it up. But you have to watch out with these kind of features because though they may make your video look a little bit nicer, they can serve as a keyboard trap. So what ends up happening is that the user's tabbing through your website, they get to the video, and their focus ends up going to the player controls that are underneath that overlay image. So then the user has no clue where they are on the website. It's frustrating, really. Um, and then there's the autoplay option, which should be purely avoided, that no user loves to show up on a site and get bombarded with audio that they don't know where it's coming from or unexpected movement or anything like that. Like, let them play the video for themselves. And then the other option is player controls. For some reason, page builders offer this where you can turn the player controls off of a video. So things like the play button, volume, seeking through the video, just let the users have it. Make these videos accessible for all. Here I have a screenshot of the video options within an Elementor editor with the autoplay, mute, and loop all turned off, and the player controls is set to on, which is the ideal settings that you are going for. And then here's a screenshot of what an image overlay settings might look like within your page builder. This one was taken from Elementor, so we can see the image overlay section with the image overlay set to on, and then there's just a placeholder in that area. And then the videos continue here with background videos. Background videos are popular for hero backgrounds, but that continuous movement can be distressing for users. I find that offering a clear pause play button for the user to be able to stop the video should they wish is a good option. Unfortunately, I haven't found a page builder that has this baked in, so I've always had to add some custom code to do it myself, but it is possible. Any page builder people listening out there, please add this as an option. We would all love you very much. And then also ensuring that those background videos have a good contrast for if you're overlaying any text, that adding a dark overlay can be a good solution for that. And I just have a screenshot. Again, I wasn't going to subject you to all the movement of a video, but in the screenshot, we can see that there is a little pause button up in the upper right-hand corner, and then we have some white text, and there's a dark overlay, so the user can easily read the content. All right. And now we're getting into a little bit of a biggie. It is our dynamic post filtering. So a lot of page builders will offer like category filtering for blog posts and different things like that. And unfortunately, these usually aren't marked up properly. Whenever the results are on the same page, they are often missing those proper status messages, uh, refocusing the user to where they should be after the update, and including a proper submit button. This is a proceed with caution, but definitely with proper markup, you can make it work for you. Unfortunately, a lot of that proper markup is going to be through some custom code. And on the screen here, I have an example of some post filters that I pulled from the Oxygen Builder website. So we see some button filters on the left, which button filters are great. You can select one, and then if the content changes, we can serve the user a status message. So if they're on assistive technology, they know that something on the page has changed. And then we update those blog posts. If, say, this were a drop down where the user has to select an item from the drop down, then we would want to ensure that there's a nice apply button. That way we're not changing those results on an input. So just keeping a close eye on that. And then last but not least, waving us in is our contact forms. A lot of page builders have built-in contact forms that unfortunately aren't marked up properly with proper labels, required field indication, and proper validation messages. This is something that is a proceed with caution, and there's a lot of good third-party plugins out there, such as Gravity Forms, that offer you a little bit more flexibility and better leverage over your forms. So an example here, I pulled this from the Divi website, is we have a contact form and they're using placeholders instead of labels. So if a user begins to type in there, they won't remember what field they're on. It's problematic. It's hard to use. And then if they were to hit submit, we see a screenshot of the submitted version where there's validation errors, and there's no required indication on these. So it just says, please fill in the following fields and list name and message, but there's still nothing telling you that these fields are required. And we entered an invalid email address and it just says invalid email, but it doesn't give us any good reason of why or how to fix it. So I pulled another example here. So we have a screenshot and we can see that we have the email labels with the required indicators on them. And then you have an invalid email address typed in, just email@ex. And we get a proper validation message this time that says the email address entered is invalid. Please check the formatting, and then gives an example of a proper email address. So that is a better way to let users know that, hey, you messed up. Here's how you can easily fix it. And that leads us to our wrap up. So at the end of the day, page builders they can be super helpful and these incredibly flexible tools, but they come with a lot of responsibility at not just blindly trusting these page builders. And ensuring that we are doing all the testing and everything as needed. Today, I will not be giving you a what I think the best, most accessible page builder is. But if that is something that you are curious in, there are lots of blog posts and podcasts and I know that there's some that just recently happened that go over all that and give a better look. And then now we're at time for questions.
Thank you so much, Scarlett. That was very informative and insightful.
Thank you.
Some great examples from various page builders and a lot of useful information there. We do have a bunch of questions.
Oh,
So we'll get to them as we can. Um, Rosita asks, I have a problem with the section tag in Elementor. It converts all of the inner containers into sections automatically. That is not correct, right?
um, yeah, so Elementor now offers a container structure as well. So their previous version, every one of those, every section is literally what they call it, did have the section tag on it. And now if you are switching over to their new container structure, though it may look scary, I do recommend it. It gives you a lot more flexibility to be able to assign those landmarks like I showed within that screenshot.
Great. Thank you for that. All right. David says that Elementor Pro's custom attributes are added to the wrapper div instead of the inner element. Is this sorry? Is that a good way, or for remediating accessibility issues?
Not not always. So you will want to make sure that wherever your custom attribute is being applied to wherever it's needed. So for instance, in our primary nav example, you would want to make sure that it is getting applied where that nav tag is. And unfortunately, sometimes within page builders, it's hard to tell exactly where it's going to add it. And a lot of times it does end up adding it to that wrapper. Um, so that's where like adding some custom code and things like that, unfortunately come in. Ultimately, I would say just do your testing and make sure that it makes sense where it's at.
All right, thank you. Someone mentions that sliders are the one and only for everyone in the world of websites. I've got my clients to not do it, use sliders, I guess. But what alternatives do you use? And can you explain or give a URL or an example about how to make a slider accessible?
Yeah. So my recommendation is just just don't. I know that that's not the most popular answer for some clients. I know that some really like it. If you can provide them like a good argument, I know a lot like sliders within the heroes. So if you can compromise on having like a background image with maybe some overlaid text, ensuring that there's a nice background overlay for that high contrast. And then I usually recommend an image text section. So something that has an image and some text, just so that way the user can see everything laid out for them. I think the argument here is really like, don't be hiding this content from your users, and it can really affect like a company's bottom line if you happen to be building for a company that users are missing out on a lot of things or getting frustrated. Oh, and for an accessible slider, I know that the W3C does have examples of what an accessible slider markup looks like as well.
Yeah, and just to confirm, you're talking about slider carousels for images and other content, right? Not just like form control sliders that are custom components, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay,
Thank
great.
you, Simon. Yeah.
Sure. Yep. Paul asks, can you please address how to make a mega menu accessible?
Oh boy, Paul, you're really going for the gusto here, Paul. Um, within within our limited time, probably not. I think there's ensuring that, well, I mean, kind of goes with ensuring that all your landmarks and ARIA labels, there's a lot of ARIA labeling and everything that goes into mega menus. So that's a little bit of a bigger topic. Maybe a topic for next year.
Well said. Um, let's see. So, Dasa, I hope I got that name right, says that utilizing accordions, accordion-like, or the details tag is said not to be accessible. They've heard that from a few sessions or webinars, and the user cannot put the list of all headings into those sections in the heading tree since they are all collapsed. So the assistive technology users may miss some content. What is your take on that about accordions and details and stuff, I guess?
Yeah, that's a good call out and a good question. I would say, one, I would recommend keeping the content within your accordion relatively simple. I haven't dived into the details tag so much on accordions. I haven't really found them necessary within my markup, but maybe I'm missing something. So somebody inform me if I am.
Okay, and we have time for one more, I think. So someone asked, would you explain dynamic post filtering again? Is it sort of like a blog default?
Yeah, so the post filtering, so if you go to like say a blog landing page, for example, and they'll give you a list of categories to search by, um, to help filter down your post results. So that's what I mean by the like dynamic post filtering. So it's these filters that apply it to these posts. And then whenever you apply that, there's a lot of like, as I covered, a lot of markup and different things that can get lost within there. It's a little simple, but hopefully that helped a little bit. A good third-party plugin, if you're having issues with that on your site, is like Facet WP or something like that, that gives you more leverage over different kind of filters. I wouldn't say it's necessarily a blog default. You typically see it on a little bit more advanced sites or sites that have more extensive blogs.
Great, thank you so much. There are a bunch of other questions, but unfortunately, we're just about at time. So I want to thank you again, Scarlett, for this great and insightful presentation. And thanks to everyone here for attending this session with Scarlett. You can continue the conversation in the chat or on social media using the hashtags pound WPA1Y day and pound WPAD 2024. We also appreciate it if you go to the URL 2024.wpaccessibility.day/feedback to provide anonymous feedback on our speakers and their presentation. You can also enter to win a t-shirt while you're there. We encourage you to stay tuned for captchas and other gotchas. Make sure your secure websites are accessible. Coming up with the unforgettable Amy June Heinlein at 11 p.m. UTC. And while you're waiting, don't forget to visit our sponsors pages and grab some virtual swag and a chance to win some great prizes. Thanks again so much, and see you right after the break.
Thank you to WordPress Accessibility Day 2024 sponsors. Platinum sponsor 20i. Easily build, deploy, and manage all your projects with 20i managed WordPress hosting. One UI for all your servers, apps, sites, databases, security, DNS, and email. perfect for agencies, e-commerce, developers, multi-site hosting, and high-traffic sites. Platinum sponsor Equalize Digital. Since all they do is accessibility, every post on their blog is an accessibility resource. You can find webinar recordings, articles, and additional resources at equalizedigital.com/resources. Platinum sponsor WP Engine. WP Engine provides the most relied upon and trusted WordPress products for businesses, brands, and agencies of all sizes. Thanks to our gold sponsors, GoDaddy, Grackle Docs, Gravity Forms, Green Geeks, TPGI, and Yoast. And thank you to our silver sponsors, CodeGeek, Drake Cooper, Elementor, Overnight Website, Pressable, Second Melody, and Accessibility Collective.